And then it's going to be a lot of like small group kind of discussions, experimenting with things. So hi everyone, I'm Maestro Raphael di Marici from the Midrealm. Very happy to be here. Very happy to be talking to all of you about this. So today's topic is CLA, the constraints-led approach to coaching. This is kind of what the forefront of modern sports psychology is showing us works. The fundamental idea here is that our brains are not machines, right? We don't just have a bunch of pieces that we don't just like have a lunge or have a cut and then insert that into the scenario. Right. We've all seen people who can drill perfectly and can't fight. So CLA, instead of getting you to drill as perfectly as possible and then introducing the chaos, instead starts you in that chaos, right? It wants you to be able to solve a problem, right? I need to not get hit in the face. It doesn't matter if I have a perfect lunge, right? And we know from studies that there is no singular perfect lunge. There's no singular perfect wrap shot. You don't just copy and paste this thing, right? You are two people creating a shape together, right? Both moving around. So the way this works, right, is if we think about like traditional coaching, right? Do 50 reps of a thing, whatever, right? As like, here's a bunch of ingredients to this layer cake, right? That's kind of taking it one layer at a time. If we think about, right, the other end of the spectrum, the typical SCA practice of just fight is eat a whole cake right now. Neither one of those is super effective. What CLA tries to do instead is say, here's a slice, right? Here's a representative slice of the whole thing. We're not going to eat all of it. We're going to limit what you're working on. So, my goal here today isn't to be like, well, here's all the constraints I use in my practice, copy and paste them. My goal here today is give you all tools so that you can help work on problems at your own practice, right? There's going to be stuff that you can run across that I'm not going to have an answer for. And as fun it is to like get a call and be like, hey, what are your thoughts on this, right? I want to empower people to be able to problem solve on their own. So fundamentally, there's two kinds of constraints. There are physical constraints and there are rules-based constraints. So a physical constraint is a thing you cannot argue with. Right, so a physical constraint, right, this is a 45-inch sword, right, I could use a 40-inch sword, right, a physical constraint, I have a student who, just talked about this a minute ago, would often end up pairing out here, so I took a string and I made a loop, and her hands couldn't go past her silhouette, and her first reaction was to say, can I wear this in a tournament? Is that allowed? Right. Putting someone against a wall or a bunch of chairs, right? Those are physical constraints. They're not in your head. You can't argue if they're right. We don't have to quibble about them. They're a rule of physics. Right. So I live in a big city. I have to cross a bunch of busy streets. I'm always of the opinion that I trust physicists over lawyers. Oh, there's no car coming. I'm good. That car is coming down pretty fast and they should stop for the red light. So rules-based constraints are those red lights, right? Rules-based constraints could be, only target the head. Right. We ran a practice tournament. I wanted to get people to work on foot shots. And I said, all right, the foot is 5 points. Head is 2. Arms are 1. People figure, right. It takes a little bit of imagining, right, to think about that. Or I might say only thrusts or only cut, right? Those are all rules. And inherently, people will throw the other shot at some point, and that's fine. So when possible, we want to use a physical constraint. But there's lots of problems that we have that are only ever going to be dealt with rules-based constraints. We're going to talk for one more bit, and then we're going to break off. So one of the important things, Johan, can I borrow you for a second? So oftentimes in traditional coaching, right, if I'm the coach, I will stand here, right, and I will invite, and then he will lunge, right? And I'm going to stand here as a human Pell, right? And he throws a shot, whatever, right? And I give him a different cue. This is not how people move, right? You are never going to fight this person. And if you are, you don't need my help. The thing we want to do, right, with this approach is, my goal, right, if I am the coach, my goal isn't just get hit, right? I might be giving myself additional constraints. So it might be, right, Johan just needs to hit me on the inside line, and I'm only allowed to score by hitting his back foot. Something to make it hard for me, right? And then we're going to both move around, right? And he's getting these realistic cues, and I'm probably not getting the shot. So, with that in mind, we're gonna play in a minute. I want to ask the group here, what is a problem that you are having or one of your students is having that we can build a constraint for? Armored, fencing, cut and thrust, whatever.
Thrusting too much.
Thrusting too much?
In armored, that happens
cool.
Oftentimes. Or thrusting routine and too much.
Great. I'm going to ask one more layer of question.
All right.
Right. Where is that getting them into trouble?
They leave defensively. They are in a weak guard.
Sure. Right. The key here is not just, will they do an action, right? Because there's lots of people who do improper technique, and then they win. And fundamentally, if the thing you're doing works and doesn't injure you, you should just do that, right? So if you win crown by face thrusting and you won, well, I'm not going to tell you you shouldn't. Right. So where are they leaving themselves open?
Right. Although in that space, if you know, like for us,
yeah,
if somebody takes that thrust away and you have nothing else to go back to, so sometimes if you're really good at something, right?
Sure.
You want to put a constraint on yourself.
Yeah. So if someone is thrusting too much, you said it's kind of giving a weak guard. Tell me a bit more about the weak guard.
So a lot of times people fall into first poor technique of thrust. They'll drop tip.
Yeah.
As soon as you drop your tip, you have a lot of horizontal lines.
Sure.
In head. So as soon as I do this, defensively I'm weaker.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's why that happens.
All right. Cool. Right. So we have someone is using a technique and it's opening up their high line too much.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna break off people. I want everyone to find a buddy. If you want to mix armored and rattan, feel free. Right, have a sword in hand, and I want you to try and figure out, right, hey, their thrust leaves their high line open is the problem.
Yeah. All right.
Are we exploring, trying to find a solution for
Yes. What is a
take away the?
So the thing we want to do is we want to create a constraint,
okay.
Right? So take away the thrust is a constraint. Right. That's an answer. I want to see other answers as well to help them solve this problem.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Great.
How do I?
And then I guess in a lot of ways, what you're doing is you're creating a conversation here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and like what I see is everybody talking about these things, and then they can exchange. Like if I'm here, and as soon as I drop to a thrust, you tell me,
right?
That grid tells me I'm doing something that essentially upper line's open.
Yeah, right. I think the larger picture idea here. I'm on mic. Yeah.
Yeah, you
cool.
are. That's
great. So if they all miss, it's fine. We want it to be an act of co-design.
Okay.
Right. So traditional coaching often has, I am the coach, right, and I have the answer, and you're the student. Your job is to shut up and listen.
Right.
And that's not what I'm here for, right? There's stuff that's going to work for you that doesn't work for, right? And some of it, right, the easy stuff is physical, right? Of like, well, if you're shorter, take more steps. Right, and I've seen we had someone in our practice this guy Carl. He was Logos' student.
Yep.
Had about a foot on Logos.
Yep.
And would take a bunch of little steps.
Yeah, and you're like,
and I was like, you can just lunge.
Yeah.
But it also, right, it's temperamental, right? So my student Apple loves going forward. She does not have fear.
Right.
I was a short kid. I'm no longer a short kid, but I still think I am, and I think everyone's bigger than me, so I don't just run at people. Right? So the things that work for her aren't going to work for me. So it's not just, I have answers, your job is to listen, but, hi, I've been at this for a while, I might have seen some paths that don't work, and we are going to work together to create something that works for this situation, this person, this moment.
So in this exercise, maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to target with the edge of the blade, and then at some point turn it into a thrust.
Sure.
Right? That way I'm just not going at the thrust.
Yeah, right. It might be, especially if you are leaving your high line open.
Right.
If I am the coach, my constraint might be I'm only going to hit your high line.
Right. So
you'll figure it out.
If I'm here,
and
you're constantly threatening up there, then all of a sudden I'm like, I want to do this.
Right now we're not worrying about here. We're not.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to keep throwing, and I'm not just going to throw this, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then
And then I'm like, okay, well now I want to get into these positions and then find spaces to execute. What you're doing is creating that time. Right?
Yeah, right. I'm constraining the problem space, and then and then we are having a dialogue inside of that of what is working.
Right. And I think that's the important part is not only do that dialogue and then try it, and then to do the dialogue and try. That way you have some talk and then some tries.
Yeah, and it's a constant because it's. If you just talk, it doesn't do
you can't. That's one way of learning that.
I think
not
it's
effective for all.
Particularly for the historic fencing stuff. I think it's helpful to conceive of it. There's the laurel track,
right,
and there's the there's the knight track,
right,
and footnotes are always helpful.
Yeah.
But having a very long bibliography does not mean you win fights. They are different goals.
Yeah, I agree.
And you can just talk and get a laurel. Great.
Right.
And you can just hit people and never open a book and win. And this is kind of like, hey, you should discuss, should try it right. You run an experiment. Did that work? You look like you're getting frustrated. Let's circle back.
Right. And I think that's the best part between this dialogue is that now you have two people working on something, and you actually have a person giving you feedback. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's a really important part when we get into
and you're both trying to win.
Right.
Now, if you are the more experienced fighter, you might be removing a bunch of solution space so that it's fair.
Right.
But you're working with a person who is trying to hit you, not a person who is trying to let you hit them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the way we move is just different between those. Right? This is just, and this isn't right. This is just not, you're never going to get that cue. And when you're looking for it, whereas, cool. That's open.
Right? You're going to create those cues.
All right.
Go ahead and let's actually make them create that cue.
Yeah. So I want to see first. So let's bring it together. So what do we come up with? So we have, again, the problem is, thrust leaves high line open. This works across swords. What do we come up with?
So one that we had talked about is range.
Yeah.
The range at which you use the thrust. And it would depend on where that high line is opening. But if it is something that is more vulnerable at a B range, you're only allowed to thrust at an A range or a C range, but whichever is going to be the best to address the specific problem of when that high line is opening.
Sure. Right. So you're limiting you're limiting when they can use certain tools. Cool. What else?
We talked about how limiting the thrust with rapier is very interesting, but by forcing engage the blade first, and so you can only thrust or get a different kind of push cut or something on the second intention. There's a lot of variation on engage the blade because the pace of response. If he's coming for me, I need to move further, and if I want to be here, then he has an option to beat me to that. I might be able to rotate and make the block, but if he's just faster than my perception of, he's coming for me, then my good plan is terrible.
Cool.
So we came up with sort of kind of almost both. We ended up deciding that what we were going to do with the person who's stabbing too much is they're not allowed to stab unless they first get their opponent to swing and they have taken control of that sword. So I want control of this and where it is in space, time, range, everything. And then once I've established control or block, then can I thrust.
Great. Yeah, and that's right. There's the traditional version of that would be, right, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to find your sword. And once I make contact, you're going to stand still and I'm going to lunge. Right. And instead it's, well, you only get to use this tool once you've done this. Cool. We'll mix up pairs in a second. What's another, give me another problem. Someone new.
Overblocking.
Overblocking?
I'm coming just too far out. It doesn't matter if it's dagger, sword, long sword. Only one I'm not overblocking with is my buck.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. Cool. So everyone, we're going to find a new buddy. Right. So everyone find somebody. And then how do we, right, we talked about a couple ideas earlier. How do we constrain the solution space to force them out of that habit?
Right. I think the nice part about that last one was especially when you put everybody together, that you're able to get 3 different methods of doing it, and that makes people think, right?
It does. I think something trying to eat my ankles. The only injury I've gotten from reduced armor is a sunburn on this shin. Anyhow, it's with, right, because you're trying to work off these realistic cues.
Right.
It's so important. Right, if you're running like a class, right, I don't know how your practice works, right, sometimes there's the teacher and all the students.
Yeah.
If that is the method you're using, rotate people.
Right. Always.
All the, right, because if you work with one person for an hour, you're going to get really good at solving that problem.
Right.
Now, sometimes you need an overexposure to a thing, so just fighting Marcus from Aethelmark, very good lefty fighter, and like half of my practice is lefties. I love fighting right. And he's like, I was trying to go for your dagger hand, and it wasn't open. And I'm like, well, yeah. Because I deal with this all of the time. Right. So if I'm working on a specific, I might be like, I need to go fight people taller than me or whatever. But yeah, right, you need to, because you don't know who you're fighting tomorrow.
No, you don't.
And if you are, I was fighting Kai, right, and he's this tall. I was working on a thing. Yeah, please join us.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that case, I guess, and that's exactly where some of that.
Give me a second. So we gave people a problem. We split them into little discussion groups. So then on the two, do you remember what the thing we're talking about was?
Disengages.
So yeah. So the issue was, right, fighter is overreaching. Yeah. How do we limit the problem for them? Right. So instead of stand here and repeatedly throw what's a constraint we can put on that space to encourage them not to do this? Right. It can be a physical constraint, a thing they physically have to run into, or it can be a rules-based thing, right? Only cuts, only thrusts, only attacks to this side, etc. And then we'll come back for the group discussion in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're gonna have some stuff with Kai, right? And he's this tall.
Yeah.
And I went to the local HEMA school, and I was fighting someone not at Kai's level who was this tall. And all my shots whiffed. And I was like, I should be able to beat this guy. Oh, I over-indexed too.
Exactly. I think that's the good part in there is we find our weakness. We also have to find our strengths and be careful that we're not just living in a strength.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the question, right, is, so sometimes it's right. I've seen instructors like, oh, you should only focus on your weaknesses, and
you should add both.
Where is it? It's not just where am I weak; it's where am I getting hit? Because there's tools I don't use, and like fencing books are enormous. Some of them aren't, but mine is 252 pages.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of stuff in there. You're not going to use all of it. That's fine. And I don't need you to use all of it in all of your fights. It's good to know it, but if you never throw a false edge cut and you win all your fights, congrats.
Yeah.
I don't need to force you into this space. Are you getting hit by a thing? Now we have a problem to solve.
That's correct. And that's 100%. I mean, it's a fundamental in boxing, and most great fighters, they throw the same 3 blows.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they don't know a lot of them, But those are their bread and butter because they know how to put people in those positions.
Sure.
All right.
All right, let's come back together. So, right, again, we have a fighter who overreaches, right? It's going to cause strain on the limbs, and more importantly, now they're really easy to hit. What are some constraints we can give to somebody to help them try and find an answer that works for them in that space?
I don't know. Are you talking about physical restraint constraint or just
Either or, right?
So there is rules-based constraints, right, of you are only allowed to do a thing. And there's physical constraints of, like, here is a rule of physics that is preventing you from doing an action.
For all of mine, for heavy, I only do heavy. All my guys, I'm just like, as soon as your hands get up, just the box is shoulder, shoulder, hip to hip, your hands just should always be in front of that.
Sure.
And if you're ever outside of it, power generation becomes a problem. So we just literally teach, no matter what you're doing, your hands in front. It's never more than in front of these hips or your shoulders, even in offside. So wraps are a problem. People, it looks like it's out here, and so I'm like, but really you're turning to front of you, stay in front of you. So I really just teach your hands
In a box.
are in this box, the shoulder, and it should, sometimes you do this, but when you're throwing the actual shot, you're still kind of down in front of the shoulder.
Yeah.
You will get things.
Cool.
But that's where I go.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah, so we have
It
a...
was actually constrained. What you said 30 years ago was kind of.
And that's
Yeah.
A little bungee.
So we have
My
a...
hands.
a
I couldn't open my arms.
We have a rules-based constraint of you're only allowed to throw blows from here. And we have a physical constraint of I'm going to tie a thing around you. It's good to have multiple answers, right? This is a thing I've done this with my own students of, like, tying their hands together. I had my student Finn, they're left-handed, right? They would chicken wing. Like their elbow would just kind of come out really far and then would get hit here.
Oh, yeah.
And I just tied their bicep to their ribs. And then when I took the rope away, they stopped doing that. Cool.
We came up with a rules constraint of you kill your opponent, you get a point. You did a successful block, you got a point. But if you overreached for that block, it was -2. And so it was punishing you for doing the bad habit.
Yeah, and I like the points thing, right? So we run a monthly in-house tournament, and we'll play with the points a bunch, right? If we want to reward a specific behavior much more than normal, you just make that worth a bunch of points, right? And you say, right, you can throw a cut, but it gets you 1, and if you throw a thrust the leg, it gets you whatever the numbers are, right? And if you give people, right, Econ 101, if you incentivize people to do a thing, they will go towards that. People like winning.
Quick question on that is, does that also build camaraderie? Like, I'm giving my opponent points, right? Because I'm seeing...
And you're telling him that was good, or...
And so I'm giving him 3 points instead of me claiming my 3 points.
Right.
Sure.
And so you're getting feedback on that as well.
Yeah.
So we came up with a couple of different things. First is much like that with constraining the shield arm so that it physically wouldn't let you overblock. So there was that one. And then we came up with something you can do on your own without having another person, and that is create some sort of physical boundary that if you hit it with your shield, you're overblocking if you're standing impelling. And also add a mirror. Anytime you move it, if you move it outside of it, you have to do it again, or there's some other sort of task you have to do to kind of incentivize you, especially if it's a task you don't want to do, it incentivizes you to not do that.
Great.
And then the other piece that Antigone had come up with is some visual cue on the inside of the shield that it moves past a certain point.
Sure. Yeah, I had someone recently, right, their dagger was drifting too far in and they were getting caught up. And I was like, oh, yeah, your dagger shouldn't, when you're setting up, right, your dagger shouldn't already be on this side of you, right? So I give them a visual cue of, like, it should not pass your nose, right? You can parry here, but if I'm starting here, it's going to limit, like, and again, you can do whatever guard you want, but it was limiting the actions they wanted to do. And it was impeding them.
We basically thought that it'd be interesting to give the opponent the condition that they must attack with a feint, effectively.
Sure.
as their primary attack, because if you are encountering overblocking, if it's just an honest direct attack, well, it's fine if you overblock it because then you get to kill them.
Yeah. Great. Cool. So we're going to have new pairs in a second. We're going to have a new problem in a second. I want to change the focus a little bit. So a lot of the stuff we're talking about right now is kind of this slightly more internal locus of, well, this is what this fighter is doing, and that is getting them in trouble. The other way, that's perfectly valid. We should do that, right? The other thing, right, so that's kind of the solutioning space. What I want to take a look at as well is how do we constrain the problem space, right? So, hey, I have trouble dealing with people who, because ultimately I just have to beat the person in front of me. As long as I win that fight and I don't hurt my joints, both of those, it's fine, right? So it doesn't matter if I think I have this opening or if they can exploit on it, it doesn't matter, right? But they are doing this thing at me and I'm not solving it. So what is someone who hasn't suggested a thing before, what is a thing that people do at you that you or someone you know has trouble responding to?
People lock me down. Armorless, rapierless. Once they get too close to me, I'm dead. And it's when they're going faster, if that makes sense. I just immediately kind of fold.
All right, cool. So let's find some new partners.
So everybody knows on camera. Just say what was it?
Yeah, sorry. It was right. Johan has trouble when people run him down. Right, both if they just kind of both people running him down and also people getting too much in his grill, being too close.
Yep.
He has issues responding to that, whereas if you're a long-range defensive fighter, he has an easier time.
Okay. That's a good...
So, find a new partner, talk it out, try some things.
Switch one way if you want. There we go. Looking good.
We're going to repeat people at some point, but...
Perfect. What's that?
It's like we're going to repeat people at some point.
That's good.
Yeah, right. Like this last practice, I was fighting Kai, and I was like, I need you to throw case at me, because I never deal with that.
Right.
And I need to be prepared.
I was glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
You're talking about, I love how you have both sides of that issue. Here's my weakness. How do I work through that weakness? All right. Here is the people on weekends. Like, that's a real good weakness of people, smaller people and bigger people getting on top of you is always a hard place.
Yeah, I think especially, right, the higher you go, the more you'll go, this one person.
Yeah, 100%. It gets smaller and smaller.
I know, right, how do I beat Kellic? How do I beat John? How do I beat, right? And I know how they fight. I watch those videos.
Yep.
How do I get more time in against a fight like that?
Right, exactly. And you just have to make that, specifically make that time.
Yeah.
Or make sure that somebody else at least knows part of what they do. They're never going to be perfect.
Right.
But even if it's one piece that they do well, like, every once in a while, if I do this first on top of it.
Yeah.
To that once
He's talking to you.
Too handsome.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful, baby.
All right, you're on camera. What do you want to say?
Yeah, don't say anything bad. Say all nice things.
I'm learning how to fight Rattan. That's what I'm putting
You were just over there.
I want to do Madu.
You did that class. We just did that class.
Did you?
It was really good. It's on. It'll be online.
Yeah, I want to learn Madu because it's kind of like
100%
rapier. Like
it is. But you have two things that are.
That's true.
And that open distance.
What are you teaching right now?
This is the constraints-led approach to coaching.
Oh, sick. Nice.
Yeah, it is really good. That's awesome.
Right. It's like, how do I give people tools to realistically solve problems instead of like blocked drilling where someone stands still?
Yeah, I love that.
Or we're just going to free fight with no specificity.
Yeah.
Right. What's that middle point?
Yeah. How do we make this happen?
And instead of me being, well, here's my constraints I use all the time, it's, hey everyone, what's the problem? All right, cool. How do you guys solve that?
Yeah. What are your? Yeah. How do you figure that out? How do you fix that?
Yeah, the part here is like everybody's getting together and then they're talking about how they solve it. Right. It gives everybody like I was like, I never thought of that way of doing it. That's a nice idea.
Nice. I love that.
Don't have that. Both of them is.
All right, let's bring it in.
But yeah, program.
Yeah, I mean, so what are you doing when you know what's going to happen until you're comfortable with it?
Okay.
Retreat. Okay. Yes.
Drop cuts.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what do we come up with?
I'm going to take bonuses before he says it. Don't go straight backwards.
Yeah.
If you're retreating, you need to be turning out to the corners. And so what you're doing by turning out to the corners is you're taking some of the control back from the fight.
Sure.
And they have to react to what you're doing.
Yeah. Right. So we're constraining the solution space. So I had a student at one point ask about offline footwork, and instead of just drilling it a bunch, I ran at them.
Mhm.
They got out of the way. No one runs races backwards. They got out of the way sideways. They figured it out. And I went, that's offline footwork. And I knew how to use it. Great. What else?
Many things.
We came
Sure.
up with my basic theory of approach is if I don't want my opponent to do something, then I'm going to teach them through one way or another that it is unpleasant to do that thing. So that would be either ole and let them look silly running past. Or
We're getting you closer to the mic. Sorry, Bronis is telling me to be better at this.
So it would be. I'll repeat it. So
Yeah.
essentially what I like to do is if I don't want my opponent to do something like be right up on me, which generally I don't because I'm a small person.
Sure.
And most people are a lot bigger than me, then I want to make them pay and make it not advisable for them in some way. And so that is going to be either by controlling it and sidestepping, moving, which Hirsch and I were talking about. Ole, they look silly. They don't really want to do that, especially if it doesn't give them what they want. And then the other thing we were talking about is like if we're in the rapier field, I will just try to keep control of my blade and they'll impale themselves and kind of do it to themselves. And people sometimes learn not to do that anymore.
Give people strong disincentives. Good.
Yeah. And then Hershey had another one.
So, well, the first one I had was what Guillaume said. I called it just curl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting offline on the rapier field often helps a lot. On the armored field, if somebody's charging me with sword and shield, I'll put my shoulder in their shield and stop them. Because then, when we're both stopped, I can take a step back and be at a safe range. But that doesn't always work.
All right.
Can't be able to.
I'm gonna walk with the mic closer to people while the camera stays still. All right. What did we come up with over here?
So we wanted to teach a little bit of confidence in aggression.
Yeah.
So when that would have our opponent purposely charge us, and then we would shield block the hilt and then throw a wrap.
Okay.
That would be our first step.
Cool.
Basically, they say you have to do something other than thrust or do a kill before that. So either you're stepping up to the side, you're stepping back, you're parrying, but you cannot automatically try to thrust.
Gotcha. All right. What did our last group talk about?
Physical constraint. I should probably fight with a shorter sword to get used to people just being closer to me.
Sure. Short swords, great.
You know, really great idea.
So we had talked about we both have the same issue that we like to be at range, and when people get way in, that's when we're at our worst and stuff, which led to me talking about a bunch of the new guys I work with. We go to fight, and they get comfortable, and then they stay just out of range, and they have no idea how to close into range, and they get terrified. Like, I step into range, you kill me.
Yeah, right. They're uncomfortable in that space.
And so it's the class I teach that I didn't teach. I have a whole class. The entire premise is like, you're not going to throw shots. You're going to get in a guard. You're going to start at a range. Your opponent's going to stand there, and you're just going to walk into A range in your guard and walk out. And you're going to know exactly the shots you're going to throw, and it'll give you a chance to practice post and dump and shield block. And it's literally just teaching them how to go from out of range, into range, stay alive to shots, and get out until they're comfortable with it. It's just a little progression where they start standing still, and then they get to take a step when you retreat. And then they get to chase you when you retreat until you learn how to get in and out of range alive.
Great.
And then we go on the Pell and learn how to throw shots.
Sure.
Right.
And then when you stay alive and recognize openings, the Pell shots start happening. And that's a progression I would have to run. I found I had to run people
Great.
through it because they'd get to a point where they're like, I'm stuck here. I'm afraid to go in. I have no idea how to get past your edge of range.
So that's another thing we had talked about is getting comfortable being at A range.
Yeah,
They want
right.
close
Force
with
them
you,
into that
close with
space.
them too.
Sure.
And they may not want to be that close either, but they want to be closer than you want to be when you're trying to stay outside.
All right, I'm grabbing my talking sword again.
All right.
The real trick. This is how I. Oh, that's a heavier thwacking sword. All right, this is fine.
You're good?
So we all had a lot of really great ideas of constraining the solution space. We didn't really constrain the problem space, did we?
Ah, there he's like.
So, right, if I'm working with Branos, right, if, like, let's say, I, right, get steamrolled by Branos every time I fight him. Cool. How do I constrain the problem space? Branos, run at me. Oh, shit. A constraint I will often give both to, I need to deal with aggression, and also, I need you to be more aggressive, is Branos. Your constraint is get behind me.
Ooh.
Right? I talk about exiting through. Right? If you hit me or don't, I don't care. Your job is to get here.
Okay.
Right? And I should. Right? I limit it. Branos can't, right, long range snipe. He can't wait me out. He's not going to pick me apart.
I'm like,
run!
Every time. Like, lay on, run.
And then, right, I might vary that. So I'm going to be like, all right, Sobrano, so sometimes I want you to lay on and run, and sometimes I want you to breathe in, breathe out, and then go. And I don't want you to tell me when you're doing which. Right? There's this idea in the research of blocked versus variable drilling. Right? And this kind of extrapolates farther, right? Blocked being like, we're just going to do this one thing a bunch of times, right? I'm going to throw a same side cut a gajillion times, and variable training, right? I'm going to throw this 10 and then this 10, and variable trainings, I'm going to throw this and amount and this, right? And all of the research overwhelmingly supports variable training. They did this in tennis, right? Like forehands and backhands. Same day you see better results of blocked training, right? You're going to feel really good about this shot if you throw it 100 times, and it's not going to last. It feels good in the moment, and right, you're there that day, and you want your student to feel good, right? But I'm going right. The recall is a lot worse because we as humans don't live in a world where we get to just do this, right? This is going to be open. So in that same way, right? If I'm constraining the problem space, I'm going to do variations of Branos is running at me, but they're not all going to be the same thing.
I'll give you a different variation.
Yeah.
Here I am. Run. Right, there we go. Next one.
Cool.
Variation, ready? Then run.
So when you talk about constraining the problem space, you're talking more from a training perspective than a competition perspective.
How do you mean?
In that you're giving him instructions and constraints on what he's doing as your opponent in creating the problem that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be able to ask him to do that in a tournament.
Sure. Yeah, so in a tournament, you get, right, again, we're taking a slice out of this cake.
Sure.
Right, in a tournament, you have to go deal the whole thing. I don't get to constrain my opponents.
And so the reason I ask this is I think all of us, we're sort of in the same space, is we're thinking about, we come across this opponent, how do we deal with it, more so than how do I get someone to present that problem for me to be able to work on. Sure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, how do I force this thing to happen is a different question than, hey, I don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I guess, to follow that thread further then, right, again, we're going to look, well, actually, we'll say that in a second. What is a behavior we want to elicit from an opponent?
Hands down.
Yeah?
Or in this case, you want them to run at you.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So how would we, this is the group for a second, how would we entice somebody to run at us? What constraints can we put on ourselves to cause that?
Yeah.
Right. So the idea, if I want to entice you, I'll get right here.
Yeah.
And then get your energy, and then, oh, hey. Well,
yeah. Right. Cool. So returning to constraining the problem space. Same exercise, new thing. Give me a different problem, and then we're going to figure out how do we constrain what we're feeding somebody. Thank you.
My opponent's in a refuse stance.
Great. Right. They're here, or right. They won't. Right. Their sword isn't where I can grab it.
Right. They're like.
All right. Cool. So this one will be really short. Find a buddy. It's okay if you've met each other already. And what are with the idea of variable versus blocked? What are some different ways you can feed pulling the sword away, right, to make it harder for them to read measure?
So the idea here is if they're always in a refuse stance, you want to pull them into a stance that you're comfortable or that you have swords touching, right?
Maybe.
Essentially. Well, in this case,
they can
get that sword into a position.
Do whatever solution, right? The solution could be they stay down there and you hit them in the face.
Right.
Right? The solution could be you pull until their sword comes out.
Get up here and then
all of those. What are some different ways we can constrain the person in the refused guard? What are some different refused guards? What are some ways we can ensure that they're not giving us this long presented stance every time?
Even there, right? Because even in armor,
so really this is making somebody do something.
Yeah.
Which is critical.
You can still do
So actually,
yeah, my elbow does not like this.
I've had a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
That's why I use it.
Sure. Yeah, I've been using a Castile 40. So there's one over here. Like this is my.
Oh, you'd actually probably try first instead of just you're doing that.
Like, so this is Johan's. I have the same thing, right? This is my practice.
Yeah.
Right. It's light. It's not very long.
Yeah, right.
And then this is my tournament sword.
Oh yeah.
I'm like
yeah. That's the trick is you don't need a lot of times. I mean, you still have to practice with what you use.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be all the time. In fact, you may be hurting how long you practice it.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, this is less wear and tear, but it's shorter.
Right.
So it makes me work harder, but my body hurts less from that work.
Ding ding.
Because again, don't hurt yourself.
Well, this is why we've been pushing foam in our group.
Sure.
Because it's like I can actually practice without feeling like I'm in danger of getting hurt.
Yeah. Because I've seen people who get to the top with a thing that hurts them, and then they don't stay there.
Yep. Well, and especially like, hey, I want to practice this thing. Well, I only want to practice it one way. I want to try that. If I get hit 3 times and every one of those is a bruise, probably that practice becomes hard because I'm not thinking about practice. I'm thinking about I'm in fear of that person hitting me.
Yeah, and a thing we talk about a lot is you want failure to be approachable.
That's correct.
So I saw this video. It's the gymnastics gym. And they were working on a punch front, right? You run forwards, you do a front flip.
Yeah.
And they had everyone standing on the sides with beach balls.
Awesome.
And if you mess it up, they threw beach balls at you. Right?
Yeah.
And that's everyone's reaction.
Yeah.
They weren't, I got beamed by a beach ball.
Yeah, exactly.
They were like...
Yeah, it almost becomes fun.
Yeah, right.
So you're not afraid to do it at all.
No, and they're like, well, I get hit by a beach ball, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then they were okay with failing, and they got to try more things. Whereas, I have to win.
No.
You're really limiting yourself.
Yeah, because then the person that just feels like they're always losing doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's adding that joy into what you're doing makes a huge difference to doing it forever.
Yep.
Right? Because if it's just work.
Yeah, and so both of my teachers, right, Terry and Logos, are in their 70s.
Yep.
And they will still wreck people.
Yeah.
And I want to do that.
Yeah, you might want to do that, right?
That's my goal.
Yeah.
I've seen people be a flash in the pan and be the top fighter that year and then disappear and never see them again.
Yep.
I've seen people break themselves, and I really like doing this. I want to keep doing it. I wonder if I could do it sustainably.
Right. Well, and that's when I came into the society. I see all these guys be years or dukes or whatever.
Yeah.
And 5 years, 10 years, they're gone. And it's like, you know what? I want everyone to know I could win crown for 20 years. That was actually my focus.
Sure.
Not even knighthood. The focus was I want everybody to know I'm the best at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then, after that 20 years was gone, I went, well, I love what I do. I'm just going to keep doing it.
All right, let's bring it in. Tannis. Yep.
I understand that.
All right. So we're going to do a little what people think about this one, and then we'll do just an overall recap thoughts. So refused fighters. How do we constrain the problem space?
He did a good one on me. It took a second.
Yeah.
I'm gonna point my tip where I think their hand has to go.
Sure.
And I'm not gonna move it until they move their sword.
Cool.
They.
Yeah, right. You're interrupting the line, right? You're making them go around a shape. Good.
Good, step up.
I'm going to threaten them.
Yeah.
I want to provoke them to come out of that guard, knowing that they want to come out of a refused guard. And, I also want to live through it.
Good. Right. Make them scared. Good.
We came up with kind of a two-piece. One is that for both rapier and then for armor, because the solution isn't exactly the same. So for armor, typically somebody's going to refuse. I'm
going to walk over with the mic again. Sorry.
So I don't want my opponent to be like this. So what I'm going to end up doing is instead of allowing them to stay in this position, I'm going to make them uncomfortable in that position. And so I'm just going to step offline until I can get them in their back. And they're going to have to move out of that refuse and address me.
Sure.
Rapier-wise, from here, what I like to do is, again, they want to be down here. I don't want them down here. So I'm going to put them in an uncomfortable position. So that would be coming in quickly or messing with this, just like you were talking about, being very offensive and attacking it to where they have to bring that sword into play.
Great.
So what we were going to do, though, was when you fight, it isn't to the death. It's to making the opponent in the refuse commit.
Yeah.
Sure. Right. You're provoking a specific behavior. Yeah. You change the victory conditions. Right. We have this thing. I'll give the mic back to you in a second. But we have this idea in like traditional coaching with drilling of people winning the drill and those people being bad students who should be told that they're wrong and punished or whatever. And then we're teaching them to win fights, but don't win drills. And then they get mad and they leave. Win games. Create a limited problem set. Yeah, I want them. It's competitive. I want them to try and beat me. I'm going to limit what that means. But I want to work against somebody who's trying to win, not someone who's trying to stand there.
Yep, that's it.
Great.
That's essentially where we're going.
So I think we were looking at the problem from the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Much like we were talking about with someone running you down and trying to encourage that behavior to be able to work against it. We were trying to figure out how to get someone to adopt a refuse stance.
Sure.
And it's a difficult problem because a refuse stance is fairly passive. And so the thing that we discussed is refusing engagement. And refusing engagement until you can try and get them to adopt that more passive stance. And to a certain extent, wearing them down to the point of them not having to be point forward and sword ready to be engaged. And then once they're in their refuse stance, then you have that opportunity to work against it.
Cool. So, right, again, we had kind of these groups talk about constraining the solution space. How do I deal with a refused fighter? And now we're kind of talking about like, how do I encourage, right, this problem space? As well, right, in a training environment, I can be like, Johan, give me a refused guard. More refused. Great. I'll just do it.
Yep.
It's fine. I think an important thing, right, again, is to vary it, right? So, right, this is a refused guard. I can be here. You see this in cut and thrust, sword and buckler, right? That's kind of scary. That's a good psychological one. That's going to come from my head, isn't it? But I can't. There's nothing for me to grab, right? Right, we have here, right? Y'all love this one, right? The Bolognese are over here sometimes. Right, these are all a different kind of problem than, right, anything more sword in front. So, yeah, right, assuming that your training partners are decent people, you can just ask them to throw a problem your way. Right, the trick is not always saying, hey, how do I get you to do this? It's just like,
sure. Well, that's kind of the question I asked earlier, is in a training environment where your opponent is going to be accommodating, you can ask them to do what you need to.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do it in a pressure situation, then trying to encourage that behavior, like we were talking about, how do you encourage someone to run at you?
Sure.
Because you want to be able to work against somebody running at you. Well,
yeah.
You're using techniques for that. So I can see opportunities for both depending on your circumstances and environment.
Yeah, I can be like, all right, so Johan, get in refuse guard. All right, now try and beat the shit out of me. He'll go for it.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be competitive. I have to go deal, right? As well, right, if you can find, if you can find someone who speaks that as their native tongue, right, I've constrained the solution space by just going up to a low guard fighter.
Yep.
Cool. Right. oh, that person loves to work in the bind. Well, there's people who can, like, I can do it, but it's not my favorite thing. And I have people at my practice who it is their favorite thing, and I'll go hunt them down to solve those problems. Great. So that's kind of my intro to CLA, right? We're taking a slice out of this layer cake, right? It's representative. We're still moving realistically. We're still trying to hit each other. We're just kind of walling off what that might look like. Curious as to kind of people's takeaways from this. Is there anything to, like, you want to chew on? Any new insights?
So I just want to point out one thing, in that this entire time we were doing something through a thought process, but we were doing play, competition, points. We were coming up with games, ways to interact with each other to make it fun and not just standing in front of somebody and getting the crap beat out of you or just standing in front of a pill. This is all interaction with a lot of positive reinforcement, mostly for the different students. And we're finding that that works, even if you don't use necessarily this method. If you use that across all of your teaching and training, it works. Yeah,
so I think Brown and I were talking about a second ago, right? Make losing fun. So I saw the gymnastics video. People were working on their punch fronts, right? You run up, you do a front flip. And everyone on the side stood around with beach balls and threw it at them if they mess it up. And they all laughed, right? It's really funny to get hit by a beach ball. I had a person in my practice, Master Gwen, who was having trouble dealing with distractions in tournaments. She's a very big Lord of the Rings fan. And so we all stood on the sidelines and had very bad Lord of the Rings hot takes. So, like, just use the Eagles, right? Trying to distract, and be like, no one's going to be this distracting in a tournament.
People tend to learn and enjoy what they're doing better when they're playing.
Correct. Yeah, right. You want it to be fun, right? Make losing approachable as well, right? A thing we didn't talk about too much today is compounding constraints, right? It doesn't just have to be only do this thing, right? I can add layers, because if you are only getting me 10% of the time, you're not going to learn a lot. That's a really rough, right? It's an overwhelming data set. And there are people who can do that to you. And if they're trying to be a training partner, right? Hey, if you can further limit what they do so that you can go, oh, I ran this experiment and this worked, as opposed to like, well, none of them worked and I don't know what to do.
So on that last point, I know we're drawing to the end here, but I think the thing I found in the class that I like the best is a lot of times we'll figure it out ourselves. Like, okay, how are we going to set up constraints or these things? But what was really nice is when he asked everybody to come in and share theirs. Like, I loved your points thing. I'm like, I would have never thought of that. And now, like, oh, I want to give that a try, right? So think about at practice sometimes. You don't have to be the greatest person there. You may have, that whole points thing, it's been a little while since you fought, right? But I love that, and I've been training for 40 years. So there's always stuff to learn. And by doing this, it allowed me to get more ideas, because to tell you the truth, the longer you do it, sometimes the more stuck in the routine you get.
Yeah, right. And this process is an act of co-design, right? I'm not the teacher who has the answers and it's your job to listen. We are in a conversation, right? And I might be able to go, oh, I've seen where that path goes.
Yeah.
Don't do that one. That one's going to hurt, right? Hey, lunging this way will shoot your knee out of your body.
Yeah.
Do you want the pictures? But you're working together, right? And you will come up, right? New people will think of things that you, as a Duke, as a Knight, as a Mod, whatever, have never thought of. And you'll go, oh, that's really cool. I want to do that one.
Yeah.
Other takeaways?
I just like the whole mindset difference of, like, we all have drills and everything else, but to make it competitive, to put the constraints in, but still have the competition, and building that with the group.
Yeah, you're trying to win things.
The general vibe of all week here is how many of the same stuff different people are teaching, slightly different language or slightly different take on it. Even with the footwork, where it's like, effectively, we all did all the same steps, but there were various frameworks it was presented in, and you just never know with any given student which of those actually is the thing that suddenly clicks.
Right, yeah.
One of the things that's really nice to be like, I understand this from this other point of view. That's a really cool way I can go home and describe it to someone that I maybe have been struggling to keep the point across.
Oh yeah, I read an article on this of ditch your metaphors, right? Like I have my go-to metaphors, and I'm not emotionally attached to any of them. That one didn't work. All right. Oh, you do music? Well, I can play like 5 chords badly. I'm going to use that as an analogy. Oh, you did right. I'll always ask people, what's your back? Oh, you did dance, you did tennis, you did chess. What? Let me speak your language.
Yep.
Any other thoughts?
No, I think that was
great. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Let me turn this thing off. Thanks, everybody. We are next class. We have actually 2 classes coming up. Oops. Come on over here with the mic. All right. So we're going to be a little bit late on our next class. We'll get the other one running, but it's actually not going to be a broadcast. We're going to try to tape it. But the next class is translating foam technique to rattan. We have a lot of great foam fighters that have come, not only became really good fighters and knights in our community, but now are stepping up and also becoming crowns. And it's been a very nice place. It's been a very nice place to see that we can take things instead of always looking at them and say, well, they're just foam. We can say, hey, look at that different style. Maybe I want to try that piece, and that may actually work for us better. And so the idea is be careful on just like, oh, well, that's not Myers, so it's not going to work, or whatever. Like you look at everything and pull what works. This is fundamental for a lot of that, unless you're Lorlet tracking it, and you want to do this perfect technique. That is perfectly fine. But it's really important to be open to other people's ideas. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.